That black girl will never sit at our Thanksgiving table. Not while I'm the head of this family," Grandmother Eleanor had declared 6 years ago. The family fortune crumbled. The estate went to auction. This Thanksgiving, they received an invitation to dinner at their former home. They arrived, confused. The door opened. Kelsey stood in the entrance of their family mansion. "Welcome to my home. Please, sit." Eleanor clutched her walker. Then 3 children ran down the grand staircase. "Mommy, are the guests here?" They stopped in front of Richard, her grandson. "You look like the man in Mommy's pictures." Eleanor collapsed into a chair. Her only great-grandchildren were black, and they now owned everything. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get started. You are going to love her, I promise. Richard stood in front of the bathroom mirror in his bedroom. He was talking to himself. He did that sometimes, when he was nervous. And tonight, he was very nervous. "Grandmother, this is Kelsey. She is smart and kind, and I love her." He shook his head. That sounded wrong. He tried again. "Grandmother, I want you to meet someone very special to me." Better. Maybe. Richard looked at his reflection. He was 30 years old. He lived in Charleston, South Carolina, in a mansion on Battery Street. The house was big and beautiful, with white columns and a garden. It had been in his family for 3 generations. His grandmother Eleanor owned everything: the house, the family business, his entire life. Richard had been dating Kelsey Williams for 8 months. She was 26 years old. She was in her last year at Charleston School of Law. She was smart. She made him laugh. She listened when he talked. She was kind to everyone she met. He loved her. He wanted to marry her. There was one problem. Richard had never told his grandmother about Kelsey. He knew Eleanor had strong opinions. Opinions about who belonged in their family. Opinions about race. Kelsey was black. Richard was white. He was afraid of what Eleanor would say. But tonight was Thanksgiving. Richard had decided it was time. If Eleanor met Kelsey, she would see how wonderful she was. Everything would be fine. He hoped. Richard walked downstairs and out to his car. Kelsey was waiting in the passenger seat. She wore a navy blue dress and pearl earrings. Her hair was pulled back neatly. She looked beautiful, but her hands were folded tight in her lap. "Hey," Richard said as he got in the car. "Hey." Kelsey's voice was quiet. "You okay?" Kelsey turned to look at him. "I am nervous." "Do not be nervous. She is going to love you." "You have been hiding me for 8 months, Richard." "I was not hiding you. I was just waiting for the right time." "And Thanksgiving dinner is the right time?" Richard reached over and took her hand. "Yes, it is. I want her to know about us. I want everyone to know. You are important to me, Kelsey. You are the most important person in my life." Kelsey smiled a little. "Okay. Okay." Richard started the car, and they drove through Charleston. The streets were quiet. Most people were already home with their families. They drove past old churches and historic houses. Finally, they turned onto Battery Street. The mansion appeared. It sat back from the road behind iron gates. Lights glowed in the windows. Richard parked in the circular driveway. He turned off the engine. They both sat there for a moment. "Ready?" Richard asked. "Ready?" Kelsey said. They walked up the stone steps to the front door. Richard held Kelsey's hand. He could feel her shaking a little. Or maybe he was shaking. He rang the doorbell. The door opened. Eleanor Thompson stood there. She was 72 years old. She was thin, with white hair styled perfectly. She wore a dark red dress and a pearl necklace. She was smiling. Then she saw Kelsey. The smile disappeared. Eleanor's face went cold. Her eyes moved from Kelsey's face to her hand holding Richard's hand, then back to Kelsey's face. "Grandmother, this is Kelsey Williams. Kelsey, this is my grandmother, Eleanor Thompson." Kelsey smiled and held out her hand. "It is very nice to meet you, Mrs. Thompson. Thank you for having me." Eleanor did not take her hand. She stood in the doorway for a long moment. Then she stepped back. "Come in," she said. Her voice was flat. Richard and Kelsey walked inside. The foyer was large, with marble floors and a grand staircase. Expensive paintings hung on the walls. A crystal chandelier sparkled overhead. Everything looked perfect, but the air felt heavy. Eleanor closed the door behind them. She did not help Kelsey with her coat. She did not ask how the drive was. She just stood there, looking at them. "Should we put our coats somewhere?" Richard asked. "The closet is there." Eleanor pointed to a door under the stairs. Then she walked toward the back of the house. "Dinner will be served in 30 minutes. She disappeared into the kitchen. Richard and Kelsey hung up their coats. Kelsey looked at Richard. Her eyes were worried. "That was just the introduction," Richard said quietly. "She needs time to warm up." "Richard, she would not shake my hand." "I know. I am sorry. She is just surprised. I should have told her you were coming." "Yes, you should have." Richard took Kelsey's hand again. "Come on, let me show you the house. You are going to love it." They walked through the first floor. Richard showed her the sitting room with its tall windows looking out at the garden. He showed her the library with shelves full of old books. He pointed out paintings of his grandfather and his father. "This is where I grew up," Richard said. "Every room has a memory." Kelsey looked around. "It is beautiful." They climbed the stairs to the second floor. Richard took her to a balcony that overlooked Charleston Harbor. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. Water stretched out in front of them. "Wow," Kelsey said. "I know. I used to come out here when I was a kid. I would sit here for hours." They stood together watching the sky change colors. Kelsey leaned against the railing. "Richard, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" She turned to face him. Her eyes were bright. "I was going to wait until after dinner, but I cannot wait. I have news. Good news." "What kind of news?" Before she could answer, they heard Eleanor's voice from downstairs. "Richard, come down here." Richard sighed. "Hold that thought. Tell me after dinner, okay? I want to hear it properly. I want to focus on it." Kelsey nodded. "Okay, after dinner." They went back downstairs. Eleanor was standing in the foyer with her arms crossed. "I thought we could sit in the living room until dinner is ready," she said. They followed her into the formal living room. The furniture was old and uncomfortable. Hard chairs with straight backs. Eleanor sat in a high-backed chair near the fireplace. Richard and Kelsey sat together on a small sofa across from her. "So, Kelsey," Eleanor said, "Richard tells me you are in law school." "Yes, ma'am. I am in my final year at Charleston School of Law." "I see. And what kind of law do you plan to practice?" "Civil rights law. I want to help people who have been treated unfairly." Eleanor's mouth became a thin line. How noble. Silence filled the room. A clock on the mantel ticked loudly. Tick, tick, tick. "Kelsey is at the top of her class," Richard said. "She is going to be an amazing lawyer." Eleanor did not look impressed. She looked at Kelsey the way someone might look at a stain on the carpet. Kelsey sat up straighter. "Mrs. Thompson, I want you to know that I care very much about Richard. He is important to me." Eleanor did not respond. She just stared. More silence. More ticking. Richard tried to think of something to say, something to break the tension, but his mind was blank. Finally, Eleanor stood up. "I will check on dinner." She left the room. Richard let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "This is not going well," Kelsey whispered. "She just needs more time," Richard said. But he did not believe it. Something felt very wrong. They waited. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. The clock kept ticking. Kelsey looked at the paintings on the walls. Richard looked at his hands. Then Eleanor appeared in the doorway. "Dinner is ready," she announced. Richard and Kelsey stood up. They followed Eleanor through the house toward the dining room. The smell of roasted turkey filled the air. Richard's stomach was tight with nerves, but the food smelled good. They reached the entrance to the dining room. The table was set with fine china and silver. Candles glowed. A huge turkey sat in the center, surrounded by dishes of food. It looked perfect, like something from a magazine. Eleanor walked to the head of the table. Then she stopped. She turned around and looked directly at Kelsey. "I am sorry, but you cannot sit at this table." Richard froze. "What?" "It is a family tradition. Only blood relatives eat in the main dining room." Eleanor pointed toward the back of the house. "You can eat in the kitchen." Kelsey's hand tightened around her purse. Her face did not move. She stood very still. Richard felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "Grandmother, what are you talking about?" Eleanor's voice was calm. Too calm. "I said it clearly, Richard. This is a family dinner. She is not family. She is my guest. I invited her. And I am telling you where she may eat." Eleanor looked at Kelsey. "The kitchen is through that door. There is a small table. You will be comfortable there." Kelsey finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but steady. "Mrs. Thompson, I think there has been a misunderstanding. Richard invited me to Thanksgiving dinner. If I am not welcome at your table, then I should leave." "That might be best," Eleanor said. "No." Richard stepped between them. His face was red, his hands were shaking. "No, this is insane. Kelsey is not eating in the kitchen like some kind of servant. She sits with us, or we both leave." Eleanor's eyes went hard. "Richard, come with me, now." "I am not going anywhere. We need to—" "Now!" Eleanor's voice cut through the air like a knife. She turned and walked toward the library. Richard looked at Kelsey. Her eyes were shining with tears, but she had not let them fall. "I am so sorry," Richard whispered. "I did not think she would—" "Go talk to her," Kelsey said. "Maybe you can fix this." Richard did not want to leave her standing there, but he followed his grandmother. He had no choice. She was already disappearing into the library. The library was dark, except for one lamp. Bookshelves covered every wall. Portraits of Richard's ancestors hung above the fireplace. His grandfather in his military uniform, his great-grandfather in a suit, all of them looking down with serious faces. Eleanor closed the door behind Richard. She walked to the center of the room and turned to face him. "Sit down," she said. "I do not want to sit down. I want you to apologize to Kelsey." "I will do no such thing. She did nothing wrong. You humiliated her." Eleanor's voice stayed calm. "Richard, I am going to say this once. You will break up with that girl tonight. You will end this relationship immediately." Richard stared at her. "What? You heard me. Are you out of your mind? I love her. You are infatuated with her. That is different. No, I love her. I am going to marry her." Eleanor laughed. It was a cold sound. "No, Richard, you are not. You cannot tell me who I can and cannot marry." "Actually, I can." Eleanor walked to the desk and sat down. She folded her hands on top of the wood. "Let me explain something to you. This house belongs to me. The family business belongs to me. Your job, your car, your bank account, all of it comes from me. You have nothing of your own. I know that, but I am not finished. Eleanor's voice got harder. If you continue this relationship with that girl, you will lose everything. I will cut you out of my will. I will fire you from the company. I will remove you from this family completely. You will have nothing. Richard felt cold. You would not do that. I absolutely would. This family has a reputation. We have standards. I will not have my grandson involved with someone like her. Someone like her? You mean someone black? Eleanor did not blink. I mean someone who does not belong in our world. That is racist. That is reality. People have expectations. Our friends, our business associates, they all expect certain things from us. You bringing that girl to family events would be embarrassing. Embarrassing? Richard's voice rose. She is a person. A brilliant, kind person who loves me. She is not suitable. End of discussion. I will not break up with her. Eleanor stood up. She walked close to Richard. She was shorter than him, but somehow she seemed bigger. Then you will leave this house tonight with nothing. No job, no money, no family. Is that what you want? Richard's mind was racing. He thought about his apartment above the garage. It belonged to Eleanor. He thought about his car, a gift from Eleanor. His job at the real estate company, given to him by Eleanor. His credit cards, his health insurance, everything. You are asking me to choose between you and her, Richard said. Yes, I am. That is not fair. Life is not fair. It is about making smart decisions. Eleanor walked to the window. She looked out at the dark garden. You are 30 years old, Richard. You have never worked anywhere except the family business. You have never paid your own rent. You have never struggled for anything. If you walk out that door with her, you will be starting from nothing. Do you really think you can do that? Richard wanted to say yes. He wanted to be brave, but fear was crawling up his throat. She would struggle too, Eleanor continued. She is in law school. She has loans, I imagine. Do you think she wants a boyfriend with no job and no money? How would you support her? I would find work. You would fail, and she would leave you anyway. Eleanor turned back to face him. I am saving you from future pain. Break up with her now. Find someone appropriate. Someone from a good Charleston family. Someone who fits. Richard looked at the portraits on the wall. All those serious faces. All those men who had built this family's wealth and reputation. What would they think of him if he gave it all up for love? How long do I have to decide? Richard asked. His voice sounded far away. Eleanor checked her watch. 10 minutes. I will be in the dining room. When you come out, you will either tell her goodbye or you will pack your things and leave with her. Your choice. She walked to the door. She opened it and paused. Choose wisely, Richard. You will have to live with this decision for the rest of your life. She left. The door closed. Richard was alone. He sat down in one of the leather chairs. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. 10 minutes. He had 10 minutes to decide his entire future. He thought about Kelsey, her smile, her laugh, the way she listened when he talked about his problems, the way she made him feel like he could be better than he was. He loved her, he really did. But he also thought about losing everything. No job, no home, starting over with nothing. Could he do that? Could he really? Richard looked at the clock on the mantel. 8 minutes left. He put his face in his hands. 6 minutes. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the garden was dark. He could not see anything. 4 minutes. He thought about Eleanor's words. You will fail, and she would leave you anyway. What if that was true? What if he gave up everything? And then Kelsey realized she did not want to be with a man who had nothing. 2 minutes. Richard walked to the door. His hand was on the doorknob. 1 minute. He opened the door and walked out. Kelsey was standing in the foyer. She still had her coat on. She had already known. Somehow, she had known. "Can we go outside?" Richard asked. Kelsey nodded. They walked to the front door together. They stepped out onto the porch. The November air was cold. Richard could see his breath. "My grandmother gave me an ultimatum," Richard said. He could not look at Kelsey's face. He looked at the ground instead. "I know. She said I have to break up with you or lose everything." "And what did you decide?" Richard finally looked up. Kelsey's face was calm, but tears were running down her cheeks. "I cannot lose everything, Kelsey. I am sorry. I just cannot." "So you are choosing the house and the money." "I am choosing survival. How would we live? I would have nothing." "You would have me. That is not enough." The words came out too loud, too harsh. Richard tried again, softer. "I mean, it would not be practical. We would struggle. You are still in school. I would be unemployed. It would be too hard." Kelsey nodded slowly. "Okay. Okay? You made your choice. I understand. Kelsey, please, try to understand. I love you, but I cannot give up my entire life." "Your entire life?" Kelsey repeated the words. "Is that what this house is, your entire life?" "It is my family, my history, everything I know." "And I am what? Nothing?" "You are not nothing. You are important, but not important enough." Richard reached for her hand, but she stepped back. "Do you love me, Richard?" "Yes, I do. Just not enough." "Kelsey, it is okay." She wiped her eyes. "I understand now. Thank you for being honest." She walked down the steps. Richard followed her. "Where are you going? Let me drive you home." "No, I will call a taxi." Kelsey pulled out her phone. "Please do not leave like this. Can we talk about it?" "There is nothing to talk about. You made your choice." A taxi pulled up 5 minutes later. It must have been close by. Kelsey walked toward it. She opened the door. Then she stopped and looked back at Richard. "I had something to tell you tonight. Something important, but it does not matter now." "What was it?" Kelsey shook her head. "Goodbye, Richard." She got in the taxi. The door closed. The car drove away. Richard stood on the front steps of the mansion, watching the red taillights disappear into the dark. He felt sick. He felt like he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. But he turned around and walked back inside. Eleanor was standing in the foyer. "Good," she said. "Now we can have dinner." Richard walked past her without speaking. He went upstairs to his room. He locked the door. He sat on his bed and stared at the wall. What had he done? 2 weeks passed. Richard went to work every day at the family real estate company. He came home every night to the mansion. He ate dinner with Eleanor in silence. He did not mention Kelsey's name. Eleanor did not ask. But Richard thought about Kelsey constantly. He thought about her when he woke up. He thought about her at his desk. He thought about her when he tried to sleep. He wanted to call her. His finger hovered over her number in his phone 100 times, but he never pressed it. What would he say? He had made his choice. Kelsey was also thinking, but not about Richard. She sat in a clinic waiting room in downtown Charleston. The room was small and cold. Plastic chairs lined the walls. A television in the corner played the news with no sound. Kelsey filled out paperwork on a clipboard. Medical history, emergency contact, insurance information. The form asked for the father's name. Kelsey left it blank. Kelsey Williams? A nurse stood in the doorway. Kelsey stood up. She followed the nurse down a hallway into an examination room. "The doctor will be right in," the nurse said. "Go ahead and change into the gown, opening in the front." The nurse left. Kelsey changed into the thin paper gown. She sat on the examination table. Her feet dangled. The paper crinkled when she moved. She had missed her period. She felt tired all the time. Her stomach was upset every morning. She knew what it probably meant, but she needed to be sure. The doctor knocked and entered. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back. "Hi, Kelsey. I'm Dr. Patricia Morris. I see you're here for a pregnancy test?" "Yes." "When was your last period?" "About 7 weeks ago." "Any symptoms? Nausea? Fatigue?" "Both, every day." Dr. Morris typed notes into a computer. "Okay, we'll do a urine test first. Then, if it's positive, we'll do an ultrasound to confirm and see how far along you are. Sound good?" Kelsey nodded. 20 minutes later, Kelsey was lying on the examination table. Dr. Morris squeezed cold gel onto Kelsey's stomach. She pressed a wand against her skin. A screen on the wall showed gray and black shapes that Kelsey could not understand. Dr. Morris moved the wand slowly. She was quiet. Then she stopped. She leaned closer to the screen. She said. "What is it?" Kelsey asked. "Is something wrong?" "No, nothing wrong. Just let me check something." Dr. Morris moved the wand again. She pressed a button, and the image froze. She pointed at the screen. "Do you see that?" Kelsey looked. She saw a dark blob with a small white shape inside. "That's a gestational sac? And that little flicker there? That's a heartbeat." Kelsey's eyes filled with tears. A heartbeat. Her baby's heartbeat. "Now, look here." Dr. Morris moved the wand. "There's another one." "Another heartbeat? Another baby. You're carrying twins." Kelsey stopped breathing. Twins. 2 babies. Dr. Morris was still moving the wand. She frowned slightly. "Actually, wait. There's a third sac, right there." "A third?" Kelsey's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes." Dr. Morris looked at Kelsey with a gentle smile. "Congratulations. You're pregnant with triplets." The room spun. Kelsey stared at the screen. 3 sacs, 3 heartbeats, 3 babies. "Are you okay?" Dr. Morris asked. I don't know. This is a lot to process. Do you have support? A partner? Family?" Kelsey shook her head. "No, I'm alone." "What about the father?" "He's not in the picture." Dr. Morris handed Kelsey tissues. "Okay? Well, you have options. I can refer you to a counselor to discuss everything. A triplet pregnancy is high risk. It will require more doctor visits, more care. You'll need help." "I don't have help." "Do you have friends? Anyone who can support you?" Kelsey thought. She had classmates from law school, people she studied with, but no one close. No one who would help her raise 3 babies. "I'll figure it out," Kelsey said. She left the clinic an hour later with a stack of pamphlets about multiple pregnancies. She sat in her car in the parking lot. She looked at the ultrasound pictures the doctor had printed. 3 tiny shapes. 3 babies growing inside her. She thought about calling Richard. He deserved to know. These were his children, too. But then she remembered standing on those steps. She remembered him saying, "I cannot lose everything." She remembered him choosing a house over her. Kelsey put the ultrasound pictures in her purse. She started her car. She would not call Richard. She would do this alone. The next day, Kelsey went to a restaurant on King Street called The Early Bird. It was a breakfast place, always busy. She had brought her resume. "I need a job," she told the manager. His name was Tom. He was a big man with a red face and a stained apron. "You ever wait tables before?" Tom asked. "Yes, in college." "When can you start?" Tomorrow. You got it. 6 in the morning to noon, minimum wage plus tips. Kelsey started the next morning. The work was hard. Her feet hurt. Her back ached. The smell of bacon made her stomach turn. But she smiled at customers. She brought food. She poured coffee. She made $50 in tips her first day. It was not enough. She needed more. 2 days later, she got a second job at a restaurant downtown called Magnolia's. It was fancier. Dinner only. She worked from 6 in the evening until midnight. She also found work doing legal research for a small law firm. 10 hours a week, $15 an hour. She could do the work from home. Kelsey made a schedule. Wake up at 5 in the morning. Work at the early bird from 6 to noon. Go to law school classes from 1 to 5. Work at Magnolia's from 6 to midnight. Come home. Sleep 4 hours. Do it again. She was in her final year of law school. She had exams coming. She had papers to write. She studied on the bus between jobs. She studied during her breaks. She studied after midnight when she finally got home. Her body was tired. The pregnancy made everything harder. She felt sick every morning. Her stomach started to grow. By week 12, she was showing. She bought bigger shirts to hide it. "You okay?" Tom asked one morning. Kelsey was leaning against the counter, breathing hard. "I'm fine, just tired." "You look pale." "I said I'm fine." Kelsey worked through the nausea. She worked through the exhaustion. She saved every dollar. She would need money for the babies, for cribs, for diapers, for everything. The months passed. Her belly grew bigger. She could not hide it anymore. "When are you due?" a customer asked. "March," Kelsey said. "Just one baby?" "3?" The customer's eyes went wide. "3? Oh, honey, you must be so excited." Kelsey smiled. "Yes, very excited." But inside, she was terrified. In March, on the 15th, Kelsey's water broke during a law school lecture. She was sitting in the back row. She felt a gush of warmth. She looked down. Her chair was wet. "Oh no," she whispered. The woman next to her noticed. "Are you okay?" I think it's time." The woman helped Kelsey stand. She walked Kelsey to the parking lot. She drove her to the Medical University of South Carolina Hospital downtown. Kelsey called her doctor from the car. "I'm on my way," Dr. Morris said. "Don't worry, we've got you." The babies were coming 6 weeks early. Kelsey was scared, but there was no stopping it now. In the delivery room, Dr. Morris and 3 nurses surrounded her. Machines beeped. Lights were bright. "Push," Dr. Morris said. Kelsey pushed. She screamed. She pushed again. "The first one's crowning. Here we go. One more push." The first baby came. A girl. Tiny and wrinkled and perfect. A nurse wrapped her in a blanket. "It's a girl," Dr. Morris said. "She's breathing on her own. Good lungs." They placed the baby on Kelsey's chest for just a moment. Kelsey looked down at her daughter's face. She had tiny fingers, tiny toes, dark curly hair. "Hi," Kelsey whispered. "Hi, baby girl." Then the nurse took her away to be checked. "Okay, here comes number 2, Dr. Morris said. 20 minutes later, the second baby was born. Another girl, smaller than the first but healthy. She cried loud and strong. 2 girls, Dr. Morris said. 30 minutes after that, the third baby came. A boy, the smallest of the 3. But his cry was the loudest. "And a boy," Dr. Morris said. "Congratulations, Kelsey. You have 2 daughters and a son." Kelsey lay back on the bed. She was exhausted. She was sweaty. She was in pain. But she was crying with relief and love. A nurse brought all 3 babies to her. She held them against her chest. 3 tiny humans. 3 little heartbeats against her own. You need to name them, the nurse said gently. For the birth certificates. Kelsey looked at the first girl, the one with the strongest grip. Maya, she said. Her name is Maya. After Maya Angelou, a woman who survived and thrived. She looked at the second girl, the quietest one. Sophia. After her own mother, the kindest woman she had ever known. She looked at the boy. His eyes were squeezed shut, but his hand waved in the air. James. After her father, a good man who had worked hard his whole life. Maya, Sophia, and James Williams, the nurse wrote down. Beautiful names. Kelsey stayed in the hospital for 4 days. The babies were small but healthy. Dr. Morris said they could go home. Kelsey's apartment was tiny. 1 bedroom. She set up 3 cribs in the bedroom. She would sleep on the couch in the living room. The first night home, all 3 babies cried at different times. Maya cried at 10 at night. Kelsey fed her. Sophia cried at midnight. Kelsey changed her. James cried at 2 in the morning. Kelsey rocked him. Then Maya cried again at 4. And on and on. Kelsey did not sleep. She walked back and forth with babies in her arms. She made bottles. She changed diapers. She sang quiet songs. When the sun came up, Kelsey sat on the floor of her living room. All 3 babies were finally asleep in their cribs. She put her face in her hands. Then she stood up. She made coffee. She had to study. The bar exam was in 5 months. Kelsey studied while the babies slept. She studied while they played on a blanket on the floor. She studied while she fed them bottles. Her textbooks were always open. Notes covered every surface of the small apartment. The triplets were 6 months old now. It was September. The bar exam was in 2 days. Kelsey sat at her kitchen table with flashcards. Maya was in a bouncer chair next to her. Sophia and James were napping in their cribs. Kelsey was memorizing case law. Her eyes burned. She had slept 3 hours last night. 3 hours was normal now. Her phone rang. It was Jennifer, a woman from her study group at law school. Hey, Jennifer said. Are you coming to the review session tonight? I cannot. No babysitter. Kelsey, this is the last review before the exam. You need to be there. I know, but I have the babies. Can't their dad watch them? He is not involved. Oh, I am sorry. I did not know. It is fine. I will be okay. I have been studying. Okay. Well, good luck. Call me if you need anything. Kelsey hung up. She looked at Maya bouncing in her chair. Maya smiled at her. A big, toothless smile. You are the only study partner I need, Kelsey said. Maya kicked her feet. 2 days later, Kelsey took the bar exam. She had found a babysitter for the day, a neighbor named Mrs. Chen who lived downstairs. Mrs. Chen was 70 years old and loved babies. The exam was 8 hours long. Kelsey's hand cramped from writing. Her brain felt like mush. But she finished. She walked out of the testing center into the bright afternoon sun. She had done it. Now she had to wait 3 months for the results. In November, the results came in the mail. Kelsey was feeding James when she saw the envelope on the table. It was thick and official. She put James down in his crib. She picked up the envelope. Her hands shook. She opened it. She read the first line. Congratulations. You have passed the South Carolina bar examination. Kelsey sat down on the floor. She had passed. She was a lawyer now. She taped the letter to her refrigerator. She looked at it every day. It reminded her that she could do hard things. 3 weeks later, Kelsey got a job. A small civil rights law firm called Henderson Associates hired her. The firm had 4 lawyers. They worked in a small office on Meeting Street. They represented people who had been treated unfairly. People who had been fired for no good reason. people who had been discriminated against. The pay was $35,000 a year. It was not much, but it was more than she was making waiting tables. "When can you start?" Mr. Henderson asked. He was a black man in his 60s with gray hair and glasses. "As soon as you need me," Kelsey said. "Monday?" "Monday is perfect." Kelsey worked hard. She came in early. She stayed late. She took every case Mr. Henderson gave her. She read every file carefully. She prepared for every hearing. She fought for her clients. Her first case was for a woman named Dorothy Miller. Dorothy was 52 years old. She had worked at a hotel in downtown Charleston for 15 years. She was a housekeeper. Her manager called her racial slurs. When she complained to Human Resources, she was fired. Kelsey met with Dorothy in the small conference room at the firm. "Tell me everything," Kelsey said. Dorothy told her story. She cried. Kelsey took notes. Kelsey promised to fight for her. The case went to mediation. The hotel's lawyers offered Dorothy $5,000 to go away. Kelsey said no. They went to court. Kelsey presented evidence, text messages, emails, witness statements. The judge ruled in Dorothy's favor. Dorothy got her job back plus $20,000. Dorothy hugged Kelsey outside the courthouse. "Thank you," Dorothy said. "Thank you for believing me." "You deserved justice," Kelsey said. More clients came. Word spread that Kelsey Williams was a good lawyer. She won case after case. She worked nights after the triplets went to bed. She worked weekends during their naps. She never stopped. 3 years passed. The triplets were 3 years old now. Kelsey had become a partner at Henderson Associates. The firm added her name. It was now Henderson, Williams Associates. 2 years after that, Kelsey opened her own firm, Williams Associates. She rented office space in a building on Broad Street. She hired 2 other lawyers. She hired a paralegal and a secretary. Her firm took cases in Charleston, but also in Atlanta and Charlotte. She opened offices in those cities too. The triplets were 5 years old now. Kelsey had money, real money. She bought a house in a nice neighborhood with a big backyard. She enrolled the children in a private school. She bought new clothes and a reliable car. She had built a life. She never called Richard. She never told him about the children. He had made his choice. She had made hers. Meanwhile, Richard's life was falling apart. After that Thanksgiving, Richard tried to forget about Kelsey. He threw himself into work at the Thompson Real Estate Company. Eleanor made him president 2 years after the breakup. Richard wanted to prove himself. He wanted to show Eleanor she had been right to make him choose family over Kelsey. Richard sat in his office looking at maps of the South Carolina coast. He had an idea, a big idea. "We should build luxury condos," he told Eleanor. "Beach property, vacation homes for rich people." "That is risky," Eleanor said, "but the profit could be huge. We borrow money from the bank. We buy the land. We build beautiful buildings. We sell the units for 3 times what we paid." Eleanor thought about it. "How much money would we need to borrow?" $5 million. Eleanor's eyes widened. "That is a lot." "I know, but I have done the math. It will work." Eleanor looked at Richard. She wanted to believe he could do this. She wanted him to be successful. "What do we use as collateral?" "The properties we own, the office building, the mansion." "Richard, if this fails, it will not fail. Trust me." Eleanor signed the papers. Richard went to the bank. He borrowed $5 million. He bought land near Folly Beach. He hired architects and builders. He started construction on 3 buildings. Each building would have 20 units. Expensive condos with ocean views. The buildings went up. They were tall and modern with glass walls. Richard was proud. He had done this. He had made it happen. The first building was finished. Richard held an open house. He expected hundreds of people. Only 30 came. Only 2 people made offers. Low offers. "Do not worry," Richard told Eleanor. "It takes time." But time did not help. The housing market was changing. People were not buying expensive vacation homes anymore. The economy was slowing down. Banks were nervous. Richard tried to sell the condos. He lowered the prices. He offered deals. Nothing worked. 6 months passed. Richard had sold only 5 units total. He owed the bank $5 million plus interest. He could not pay. The bank sent letters. Richard ignored them. Then the bank sent lawyers. Richard had to pay attention. He sat in Eleanor's library. It was the same room where she had given him the ultimatum about Kelsey 6 years ago. "We have 90 days, Richard said. 90 days to pay the full loan, or the bank takes everything." Eleanor's face went pale. Everything? The buildings, the land, the office building downtown, the mansion. I used it all as collateral. "You said it would work." "I thought it would. The market crashed. I could not predict that. You bet our entire family legacy on condos." Eleanor stood up. She was shaking. "You stupid, stupid boy!" She walked to Richard and slapped him across the face. Hard. Richard's cheek burned. "You are just like your father," Eleanor said. "A failure." Richard said nothing. What could he say? She was right. The 90 days passed. Richard could not come up with the money. The bank foreclosed on everything. Lawyers came to the mansion. They gave Eleanor and Richard 30 days to move out. Richard walked through the empty rooms of the mansion one last time. The furniture was gone, sold to pay debts. The paintings were gone. The rugs were gone. Only his footsteps echoed on the bare floors. He stood in the library. This was where it had all started. This was where Eleanor had made him choose. He had chosen money and security. Now, both were gone. But Kelsey was gone too. He had lost her on those front steps 6 years ago. He had traded love for a mansion. Now he had neither. Richard walked out of the library. He walked out of the mansion. He got in his old car. He drove to a small apartment building in North Charleston. The building was old, the paint was peeling, but it was cheap. He and Eleanor could afford it with what little money they had left. Eleanor was already there. She sat in her bedroom, surrounded by boxes. She did not speak to Richard. She had not spoken to him in weeks. Richard went to his own bedroom. It was tiny. He could hear the neighbors through the thin walls. Someone was playing loud music. Someone else was arguing. Richard lay down on the bare mattress on the floor. He stared at the ceiling. He had lost everything. The business, the mansion, his grandmother's respect. And somewhere in Charleston, Kelsey was living her life. Without him. He wondered if she ever thought about him. He wondered if she was happy. He would never know. That door had closed 6 years ago. Richard got a job 2 weeks after moving into the apartment. He worked for a property management company called Coastal Rentals. His job was to show apartments to people. He also fixed things when they broke. Leaky faucets, broken toilets, stuck doors. It was very different from running a real estate company. Richard wore khaki pants and a polo shirt with the company logo. He carried a toolbox. He drove a company van. He made $15 an hour. His boss was a man named Carl. Carl was 40 years old with a big stomach and a loud voice. "You ever fix a toilet before?" Carl asked on Richard's first day. "No," Richard said. "You are going to learn. Come on." Carl taught Richard how to fix things, how to use a plunger, how to patch drywall, how to change locks. Richard learned quickly. He had to. He needed this job. Eleanor stayed in the apartment most days. She sat in her small bedroom looking at old photographs, pictures of the mansion, pictures of parties she had hosted, pictures of a life that was gone. Richard came home from work every evening. He made dinner, usually something simple: soup from a can, sandwiches, sometimes pasta. He would knock on Eleanor's bedroom door. "Dinner is ready," he would say. Sometimes she came out. Sometimes she did not. When she did come out, they ate in silence. She never thanked him for the food. She never asked about his day. She just ate and went back to her room. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, Richard checked the mail. There were bills, a flyer for a pizza place, and a cream-colored envelope. The envelope was thick and expensive, the kind of paper Eleanor used to buy. Richard's name was written on the front in elegant handwriting. He opened it. Inside was an invitation. It was printed on heavy cardstock with gold trim. "You are invited to Thanksgiving dinner at the mansion on Battery Street. Thursday, November 24th, at 6 o'clock in the evening. The host wishes to celebrate the holiday with people connected to the house's history." That was all. No name, no RSVP information. Just the invitation. Richard stared at it. Someone had bought the mansion. Someone was living there. And they were inviting him to dinner. He walked to Eleanor's bedroom. He knocked. "What?" Her voice was sharp. "You need to see this." Richard opened the door. Eleanor was sitting on her bed. Her hair was not combed. She wore an old robe. Richard handed her the invitation. Eleanor read it. Her eyes went wide. "Who sent this?" she asked. "I do not know. It does not say." "Someone bought my house. Someone is living in my house." Eleanor stood up. "We have to go. I have to see who took it." "Maybe that is not a good idea." "I do not care. I am going. You are going with me." Richard wanted to say no. Something about the invitation felt strange. But Eleanor was already moving around her room, looking for clothes to wear. "Fine," Richard said. "We will go." Meanwhile, across town, Kelsey was walking through the mansion on Battery Street. Her mansion. She had bought it 18 months ago at a bank auction. She paid cash. $1.2 million. Money she had earned herself. She had known exactly what house it was. The address was burned into her memory. She had been humiliated there 6 years ago. Now it belonged to her. Kelsey had spent months restoring it. New paint on every wall. New furniture in every room. She kept some of the old pieces because they were beautiful. But she made the house feel different. Warmer. Brighter. Less like a museum and more like a home. The triplets loved it. They loved the big staircase. They loved the garden. They loved their big bedrooms on the second floor. Each child had their own room for the first time in their lives. Maya's room was painted yellow. She had a bookshelf full of books. She read chapter books now. She was smart and serious and asked 1,000 questions every day. Sophia's room was painted light blue. She had an easel and art supplies. She drew and painted constantly. She was quiet and thoughtful. She noticed everything. James's room was painted green. He had bins full of toys, action figures and building blocks and cars. He was loud and funny and full of energy. Kelsey stood in the dining room looking at the long table. This was the room where Eleanor had pointed her toward the kitchen. This was the room where she'd been told she was not good enough. Now it was her dining room, her house, her life. A woman walked into the room. Her name was Andrea. She was Kelsey's assistant. She helped with scheduling and errands and sometimes watched the children. The caterer confirmed for Thanksgiving. Andrea said, "Everything will be delivered by 4 o'clock." Perfect. And the invitations were delivered? Yes, last week. Both of them. Good. Kelsey smiled. "Thank you, Andrea." Andrea left. Kelsey walked through the house. She checked each room. Everything was ready. She had been planning this Thanksgiving dinner for months. She had the invitations made specially. Cream-colored envelopes. Gold trim. She wanted them to look expensive. Official. She wanted Richard and Eleanor to be curious. She wanted them to come. This was not about revenge. Not exactly. This was about power. About showing them that they had not broken her. About introducing them to the children they did not know existed. Kelsey picked up the triplets from school that afternoon. Their school was called Charleston Academy. It was private and expensive. The children wore uniforms, navy blue pants and white shirts. "Mommy!" James ran to the car and climbed in. Maya and Sophia followed. "How was school?" Kelsey asked. "Good," Maya said. "We learned about Thanksgiving, about the Pilgrims." "We made paper turkeys," Sophia said quietly. "Can I see them?" The children showed her their art projects. Colorful paper turkeys with feathers. "Beautiful," Kelsey said. "We can hang them in the kitchen." They drove home to Battery Street. The children ran inside and up the stairs to their rooms. Kelsey followed them. "I need to talk to you about something," Kelsey said. She sat on the floor in the hallway. The children came and sat around her. "What is it?" Maya asked. "We are going to have guests for Thanksgiving dinner. Some special people." "Who?" James asked. Kelsey took a deep breath. "One of them is your father." The children were quiet. They knew they had a father. Kelsey had told them basic things. He was not ready to be a parent when they were born. He lived in Charleston, but they had never met him. "What is he like?" Sophia asked. "I do not know anymore," Kelsey said honestly. "I knew him a long time ago, but people change." "Will he like us?" James asked. "He will love you. How could he not?" "Is he nice?" Maya asked. She was always the most cautious. "I think so. We will find out together." "Who else is coming?" Maya asked. "Your great-grandmother, your father's grandmother." "We have a grandmother?" James's eyes went wide. "A great-grandmother, yes. She is very old." "Why have we never met them before?" Maya asked. This was the hard question. Kelsey chose her words carefully. "Sometimes adults make mistakes. Your father made a mistake a long time ago. He was not there when you were born, but he wants to meet you now. And I think you should meet him, because everyone deserves a chance to be better." "Even if they made mistakes?" Sophia asked. "Especially if they made mistakes. That is how people grow." The children thought about this. James seemed excited. Sophia seemed nervous. Maya seemed suspicious. "Okay," Maya finally said. "We will meet him." That night, Kelsey lay in bed in the master bedroom. The same bedroom Eleanor used to sleep in. The ceiling was high. The windows looked out over the garden. Kelsey thought about the invitation sitting in Richard's apartment right now. She wondered if he had opened it yet. She wondered what he thought. She wondered if he would come. She had practiced what she would say, how she would stand when she opened the door, what expression she would wear. She wanted to be calm, powerful, in control. This house had rejected her once. Now she owned it. That meant something. Kelsey closed her eyes. In 2 days, Richard Thompson would stand on her porch. He would ring her doorbell, and she would show him exactly what he had lost. Thanksgiving evening arrived. Richard drove his old car through Charleston toward Battery Street. Eleanor sat in the passenger seat. She wore a dark blue dress she had owned for years. Richard wore his only suit. It was wrinkled. He had not worn it in months. Neither of them spoke. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. Richard turned onto Battery Street. The mansion appeared ahead. Richard slowed the car. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. The house looked beautiful. better than he remembered. The white columns gleamed. New lights lined the walkway. The garden was perfect. Every bush was trimmed. Flowers bloomed even in November. Fresh paint made the shutters shine. Eleanor made a sound. A small gasp. She stared out the window. "My house," she whispered. "Look what they did to my house." "It looks good," Richard said. "It looks better than when we had it." Eleanor's voice cracked. "Who has this kind of money?" Richard parked on the street. He turned off the engine. They sat there for a moment. "Are you ready?" Richard asked. Eleanor nodded, but she did not move. She kept staring at the mansion. Finally, they got out of the car. They walked up the stone path together. Richard's heart pounded. His palms were sweating. Something felt wrong, but he could not name what it was. They climbed the front steps. Richard remembered standing here 6 years ago. He remembered breaking Kelsey's heart on these exact steps. He pushed the memory away. He reached out and rang the doorbell. They heard footsteps inside. The door handle turned. The door opened. Kelsey stood there. Richard forgot how to breathe. His whole body went cold. Kelsey wore a dark green silk dress, pearl earrings. Her hair was styled perfectly. She looked powerful, successful, beautiful. She looked at Richard with calm, steady eyes. Eleanor made a choking sound. "You!" Kelsey smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was a smile of complete control. "Hello, Eleanor. Hello, Richard. Please come in." Her voice was smooth, polite, cold. Richard could not move. His feet felt frozen to the porch. What is this?" Richard finally managed to say. "This is my home. I invited you to dinner. Are you coming inside or not?" Eleanor found her voice. "This is my house. How did you—" "This was your house," Kelsey interrupted. "Now it is mine. I bought it at auction 18 months ago, paid cash." She stepped aside. "Please, come in." Richard's mind was spinning. Kelsey bought the mansion? How? How did she have that kind of money? Eleanor pushed past Kelsey and walked into the foyer. Richard followed. His legs felt weak. The inside looked familiar but different. The marble floors were the same. The grand staircase was the same. But the furniture was new. The walls were painted different colors. The house felt warmer somehow. Lattice like a museum. Eleanor turned in a circle, looking at everything. Her face was pale. Her hands shook. "You had no right," Eleanor said. "This house has been in my family for 3 generations. And the bank took it because your grandson could not pay his debts. Then I bought it legally. So now it is mine." Kelsey closed the front door. "Shall we move to the—" Footsteps pounded on the stairs, fast and loud. 3 children ran down the grand staircase. They were laughing, racing each other. A girl in a yellow dress reached the bottom first. Another girl in a blue dress came second. A boy in khaki pants and a white shirt came last. They stopped in the foyer. They looked at Richard and Eleanor. Their faces were curious, but not afraid. The boy stepped forward. He had light brown skin and curly dark hair. He looked up at Richard. He tilted his head. "You look like the man in the picture," the boy said. Richard stared at the child. The child had green eyes. Richard's green eyes. "What picture?" Richard's voice was barely a whisper. "The one Mommy keeps in her drawer," the boy said. "You look just like him." The second girl, the one in the blue dress, stepped closer. She looked at Richard's face carefully. "You have the same eyes as us," she said quietly. She pointed to her own eyes, then to Richard's. "See? Green." Richard's heart was pounding so hard he thought it might explode. He looked at all 3 children. They all had green eyes, his eyes. They all had curly hair, light brown skin. They looked about 5 years old. The first girl, the one in the yellow dress, crossed her arms. She looked serious. Adult for such a small child. "Are you our daddy?" she asked directly. The room went silent. Completely silent. Richard could not hear anything except the blood rushing in his ears. He stared at the 3 children, 5 years old. Kelsey had left his house 6 years ago. The math was simple. The truth was clear. These were his children. Richard's knees buckled. He reached out and grabbed the wall to keep from falling. His vision went blurry. His breath came in short gasps. Eleanor gripped the back of a chair. Her face had gone completely white. She was staring at the children with her mouth open. "Richard," Eleanor whispered. "Are these—" She could not finish the sentence. Kelsey watched them. She stood calm and still. She let the moment stretch. She let them see. Let them understand. Let them feel what she wanted them to feel. Finally, Kelsey spoke. "Maya, Sophia, James, go wash your hands for dinner, please." "But, Mommy," the boy, James, started to say, "Now, please." The 3 children looked at each other. Then they ran toward the back of the house. Their footsteps faded. Richard was still leaning against the wall. Tears were running down his face. He did not even realize he was crying. "You have children," he said. We have 3 children," Kelsey said. "Triplets. Maya, Sophia, and James. They are 5 years old. They were born on March 15th, 6 years ago. 6 weeks premature. I was pregnant that Thanksgiving night, when you broke up with me on your front porch." Eleanor reached for the chair to sit down, but her legs gave out. She fell into the seat hard. "You never told him?" Eleanor's voice was shaking. "You never told Richard he had children?" "I was going to tell him, that night, at dinner. But you sent me to the kitchen. And then Richard chose this house over me. So I decided he did not deserve to know." Richard slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor. He put his face in his hands. His whole body was shaking. "I have 3 children," he said through his tears. "I missed everything. I missed 5 years." "You missed 6 years," Kelsey corrected. "You missed the pregnancy, the birth, their first words, their first steps, every birthday, every moment." Eleanor looked up at Kelsey. "You did this on purpose. You invited us here to hurt us." "No," Kelsey said. "I invited you here to show you what you lost, what your hatred cost you. Those children are your great-grandchildren, Eleanor, your legacy, and you have never even met them." Richard was crying too hard to speak. His shoulders shook. 6 years. He had missed 6 years of his children's lives. Kelsey looked down at Richard on the floor. She felt something twist in her chest. Pity? Satisfaction? She was not sure. But she had planned this moment. She would see it through. "Get up, Richard," Kelsey said. Her voice was firm but not cruel. "Get up and sit down. We are going to have dinner, and I am going to tell you everything." Richard stood up slowly. His legs felt like they might give out again. He wiped his face with his hand. His eyes were red and swollen. Kelsey walked toward the dining room. "This way." Richard and Eleanor followed her. They walked through the house that used to belong to them. Now it belonged to Kelsey. Now everything was different. They entered the dining room, the same room where Eleanor had humiliated Kelsey 6 years ago. The long table was set with white plates and silver forks and knives. Candles glowed in the center. The smell of turkey and stuffing filled the air. The 3 children were already sitting at the table. Maya sat on one side. Sophia sat next to her. James sat across from them. They had their napkins in their laps. They looked at the adults with wide eyes. Kelsey walked to the head of the table and sat down. the seat of power, the seat Eleanor used to sit in. "Please sit," Kelsey said. She gestured to the empty chairs. Richard sat down across from Sophia. He could not stop staring at her. At all of them. His children. His babies. They were right there. Real. Alive. Beautiful. Eleanor sat at the far end of the table. Her back was straight. Her hands were folded. Her face showed nothing, but her hands were shaking. Kelsey looked at each person at the table. Then she began to speak. "I am going to tell you a story," she said. "You are going to listen. You will not interrupt. When I am finished, you can ask questions." Richard nodded. Eleanor said nothing. 6 years ago, I came to this house for Thanksgiving dinner. I was 6 weeks pregnant. I did not know it yet, but I was carrying 3 babies. I was going to tell Richard after dinner. I thought we would celebrate together. I thought he would be happy. Richard closed his eyes. A tear ran down his cheek. But Eleanor would not let me sit at this table. She sent me to the kitchen. Then she took Richard into the library, and when Richard came back out, he made his choice. He chose this house. He chose money. He chose his grandmother's approval. He did not choose me. Kelsey's voice was steady. She was not crying. She was not angry. She was just telling the truth. 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. I went to a clinic alone. The doctor did an ultrasound. She said triplets, 3 babies. I had no family, no money, no support. I thought about telling Richard. Then I remembered him standing on those porch steps, saying he could not lose everything. So I decided to do it alone. Eleanor opened her mouth to speak. Kelsey held up her hand. I said no, interrupting. Eleanor closed her mouth. I worked 3 jobs while I was pregnant. I waitressed at 2 restaurants. I did legal research for a law firm. I went to law school full-time. I studied between shifts. I slept 4 hours a night. My body hurt constantly. My feet swelled. I could barely walk by the end, but I kept working. I had no choice. Richard was openly crying now. His shoulders shook. Sophia looked at him with curious eyes. The babies came 6 weeks early, March 15th. I was in labor for 8 hours. Maya came first, then Sophia, then James. They were tiny, fragile, perfect. I held all 3 of them in my arms in that hospital room, and I promised them I would give them everything. James smiled at Kelsey. She smiled back at him. I brought them home to a 1-bedroom apartment. I put 3 cribs in the bedroom. I slept on the couch. They cried at different times all night. I fed them and changed them and rocked them. I did it alone. Every single night. Kelsey paused. She took a sip of water. When the triplets were 6 months old, I took the bar exam. I passed on my first try. I got a job at a civil rights law firm. I worked harder than anyone. I took every case. I won. I kept winning. By the time the children were 3, I was a partner. By the time they were 5, I had my own firm. Offices in Charleston, Atlanta, and Charlotte. 12 lawyers working for me. I made money. Real money. Eleanor was staring at Kelsey now, really looking at her for the first time. 18 months ago, I saw that this house was going to auction. The bank was selling it because Richard could not pay his loans. I knew exactly what house it was. I remembered the address. I remembered every detail of that night. So I went to the auction, and I bought it. Cash. $1.2 million. Money I earned myself. Richard put his face in his hands. I did not buy this house for revenge. I bought it to show my children that they could have anything. I bought it to prove to myself that I did not need the Thompson family's approval or money. I bought it because it is a beautiful house, and my children deserved to grow up somewhere beautiful. Kelsey looked at Richard and Eleanor. And I invited you here tonight because those children deserve to know their father. They deserve to know their great-grandmother. If you want to be part of their lives, you can be. But you have to earn it. Eleanor finally spoke. Her voice was thin and shaking. Why? Why would you let us into their lives after what we did? Because I am not doing this for you. I am doing it for them. Every child deserves a father if the father is willing to try. Every child deserves to know their family. Richard looked up. His face was wet with tears. What do I need to do? Please, tell me what to do. Kelsey looked at him for a long moment. You can visit them, once a week to start. Here, at this house. Supervised. I will be in the next room the entire time. You will show up on time, every single week. No excuses. You will be consistent. You will prove that you will not disappear again. If you do well, the visits can increase. Maybe eventually you can take them for a weekend, but you have to earn that. I will do anything, Richard said. Anything, I promise. Promises do not mean much coming from you. You will have to show me through your actions. Richard nodded. I understand. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance. Eleanor spoke again. What about me? Kelsey turned to look at Eleanor. Her face hardened. You can visit too, under the same rules. But there is one more condition for you. What? You will accept these children completely. All of them. Not just the parts that remind you of the Thompson family. You will never make a comment about their race. You will never say anything that makes them feel less than. You will treat them with love and respect, or you will not see them at all. Eleanor's jaw tightened. I am an old woman. I am 78 years old. You are asking me to change everything I have ever believed. Yes, I am. And if you cannot do that, you can leave right now. Eleanor looked at the three children. Maya was watching her with serious eyes. Sophia was drawing on her napkin with her finger. James was playing with his spoon. They were beautiful. They were smart. They were her blood, her legacy. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. I do not know if I can. Then you need to decide, but decide now, because I will not let you hurt these children the way you hurt me. The room was silent. Eleanor looked at her hands. They were old hands, wrinkled and spotted. She had spent 78 years believing certain things. Could she really change now? She looked at James. He looked back at her and smiled. A big, innocent smile. Something cracked inside Eleanor's chest. I will try, she whispered. I will try to be better. Trying is not enough. You have to actually do it. I will. I promise I will. Kelsey studied Eleanor's face. She did not trust her. Not yet. But she saw something in the old woman's eyes. Fear. Regret. Loneliness. Okay, Kelsey said. You can visit. Once a month to start. We will see how it goes. Eleanor nodded. More tears fell down her face. Richard spoke quietly. His voice was shaking. Can I talk to them, please? Kelsey looked at him. Then she looked at the children. This was the moment. This was where everything changed. She nodded once. Richard turned to face the three children. He did not know what to say. How do you talk to children you just met? Children who are yours, but strangers. Maya was still watching him carefully. She looked at her mother. Mommy, Maya said, is it okay? It is okay, Kelsey said. You can say hello. Maya turned to Richard. She was serious and cautious. Hello? Hello, Maya, Richard said. His voice cracked. It is very nice to meet you. Richard tried to smile at Maya, but his face felt stiff. He did not know how to do this. He had never been a father before. What do you like to do, Maya? Richard asked. Maya thought about the question. I like to read. That is wonderful. What kind of books? Chapter books. Right now I am reading Charlotte's Web. Richard's eyes filled with fresh tears. That was my favorite book when I was your age. Maya tilted her head. Really? Really? Charlotte is the spider, right? And she saves Wilbur the pig? Yes. Maya's face softened just a little. It is a good book. Richard turned to Sophia. She was the quiet one. She had not said anything yet. She was looking down at her plate. Sophia, Richard said gently, your sister said you like to draw? Sophia nodded without looking up. What do you like to draw? Flowers, animals, sometimes people. Can I see your drawings sometime? Sophia looked at her mother. Kelsey nodded. Sophia looked back at Richard. Maybe, Sophia said quietly. Richard understood. She needed time. That was okay. He turned to James. James was bouncing in his chair a little. He had the most energy of the three. James, Richard said, do you like superheroes? James's face lit up. Yes, I love superheroes. Which one is your favorite? Spider-Man. He can climb walls and shoot webs, and he saves people. Richard smiled. A real smile this time. Spider-Man is my favorite, too. Really? James leaned forward. Do you have Spider-Man toys? I used to, when I was little. I had action figures. I have action figures, too. I have Spider-Man and Iron Man and Captain America. That is very cool, James grinned. Richard felt something warm in his chest, something that hurt and felt good at the same time. These were his children. His son loved Spider-Man. His daughters liked books and art. They were real people with personalities and interests. And he had missed all of it. Eleanor was watching from the end of the table. She watched James laugh. She watched Maya's serious face. She watched Sophia's shy smile. She saw pieces of Richard in all of them. The way James tilted his head, the way Maya crossed her arms, the shape of their eyes. But they were all so different. Their skin was darker. Their hair was curlier. They were black children, mixed-race children. Eleanor's entire life she had believed that was wrong, that people should stay with their own kind. But looking at them now, she felt something she did not expect. She felt love, or the beginning of love, or maybe just the ache of loss. These children were her great-grandchildren, her only great-grandchildren, and she had never known they existed. Kelsey watched everyone. She saw Richard trying so hard. She saw the children responding cautiously. She saw Eleanor struggling with something internal. We should eat, Kelsey said. The food is getting cold. She began passing dishes around the table. Turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and green beans. Everyone took food. They ate in uncomfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Eleanor spoke. Her voice was shaky but determined. I want to apologize. Everyone looked at her. Kelsey's face showed nothing. Eleanor had continued. I was wrong. 6 years ago, I was cruel to you, Kelsey. I should not have treated you that way. I was protecting what I thought mattered, the family reputation, our position in Charleston society. I thought I was doing the right thing. But you were not doing the right thing, Kelsey said. Her voice was cold. You were being racist. Eleanor flinched. I was raised a certain way, in a different time. Things were… No, Kelsey cut her off. You do not get to use that excuse. Plenty of people your age have learned and changed and grown. You chose not to. You chose hatred. You chose pride, and look where it got you. Eleanor's face went red. I lost everything. You lost everything because of your own choices, not mine. You forced Richard to choose between love and money. You destroyed your own family. You drove away your grandson's happiness. And you kept yourself from knowing these 3 beautiful children for 5 years. That is on you, not me. Not Richard. You. Eleanor opened her mouth, but no words came out. Kelsey leaned forward. Do you know what it feels like to be told you are not good enough to sit at a table? To have someone look at you and decide your skin color matters more than your character? Do you know what that does to a person? I am sorry, Eleanor whispered. I am truly sorry. Sorry is just a word. It does not undo harm. It does not fix what you broke. Maya was watching this conversation carefully. She did not understand all of it, but she understood enough. This old woman had been mean to her mommy. Why were you mean to mommy? Maya asked suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. Eleanor looked like she might be sick. Maya, that is a grown-up conversation, Kelsey started to say. But I want to know. She said sorry. But why was she mean in the first place? Eleanor looked at Maya. This small, serious child with green eyes and brown skin. She opened her mouth. She almost said something about tradition and family and the old ways. But then she stopped. She could not lie to this child. She could not make excuses. I was mean because I have believed wrong things for a very long time, Eleanor said slowly. I thought people should only be with people who look like them. I thought your mommy was not good enough for our family because of the color of her skin. I was wrong, very wrong, and I hurt people because of it. Maya nodded. You hurt mommy. Yes, I hurt your mommy very much. Are you going to hurt us too? The question hung in the air. Eleanor felt tears running down her face. No, Eleanor said. I do not want to hurt you. I want to know you, if you will let me. Maya looked at her mother. Mommy? What should I say? Kelsey looked at her daughter. She was so proud of her. So proud of all three of them. You can say whatever you want, baby. You decide who you let into your life. Maya looked back at Eleanor. Okay, you can try. But if you are mean, you have to leave. That is fair, Eleanor said. That is more than fair. Richard had been quiet during all of this. He was just trying to hold himself together. But now he needed to speak. I need to say something too, Richard said. He looked at Kelsey. I was a coward. I chose money over you. I chose this house and my grandmother's approval over our future. Over you. Over us. I have hated myself every day for 6 years. I know I do not deserve your forgiveness. I know I do not deserve to know these children. But if you give me a chance, even just a small chance, I will spend the rest of my life trying to be the man I should have been back then. Kelsey looked at him. She saw the regret in his eyes, the pain, the shame. Part of her felt satisfied. Part of her felt sad. You cannot get back the time you missed, Kelsey said. You cannot undo what you did. But you can be a father moving forward. You can show up. You can be consistent. You can prove you have changed. I will. I promise I will. Your promises do not mean much to me. Your actions will. Richard nodded. I understand. The dinner continued, but no one ate much. The children were quiet. They sensed the tension even if they did not fully understand it. After an hour, Kelsey stood up. I think that is enough for tonight, she said. Richard stood quickly. Can I come back? To see them, please? Kelsey walked to a table by the wall. She picked up a piece of paper. She handed it to Richard. Your first visit is next Saturday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You will be here for 2 hours. I will be in the next room the entire time. If you are late, the visit does not happen. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. I will be here, I promise. Stop promising and start doing. Eleanor stood up too. What about me? I will call you when I decide you are ready to visit. It will not be next week. Maybe not the week after. You have more to prove. Eleanor nodded. She looked at the children one more time. "Goodbye," she said softly. "Bye?" James said. Sophia waved. Maya said nothing. Kelsey walked Richard and Eleanor to the front door. They stepped out onto the porch. The same porch where Richard had ended things 6 years ago. Richard turned back. "Thank you, Kelsey, for this chance. I know I do not deserve it." "You do not deserve it," Kelsey agreed. "But they deserve a father, so do not mess this up." "I will not. I swear I will not." Kelsey closed the door. Richard and Eleanor walked to the car. Neither of them spoke. Richard's hands were shaking so hard he could barely get the key in the ignition. They drove through Charleston in silence. The city was dark now. Houses glowed with warm lights. Families inside having Thanksgiving together. Richard pulled up to the apartment building. He parked. He and Eleanor sat in the car. "I have 3 children," Richard said. His voice was hollow. "I have 3 children, and I missed everything." "We both lost them," Eleanor said, "because of me." Richard looked at her. "Yes, because of you. You forced me to choose. But I made the choice. I could have said no. I could have walked away with her. But I was weak. And now we live in a tiny apartment, and she lives in my mansion with your children. They are her children. She raised them. She did everything. We did nothing." Eleanor wiped her eyes. "Those children are beautiful." "Yes, they are. I need to change, Richard. Really change, or I will never see them again." "I know." They got out of the car. They walked up to the apartment. Eleanor went to her bedroom. Richard went to his. Richard lay on his bed. He held the piece of paper Kelsey had given him. Next Saturday, 2 o'clock, his first visit with his children. He could not mess this up. He would not mess this up. This was his only chance. Saturday morning arrived. Richard had not slept well all week. Every night he lay awake thinking about the visit, thinking about his children, wondering what to say, wondering what to do. On Friday after work, Richard went to a toy store on King Street. It was a big store with bright lights and rows of toys. He walked through the aisles feeling lost. What did 5-year-old children like? He had no idea. He picked up a doll with blonde hair. Then he put it down. Would Maya and Sophia want dolls? He picked up a toy truck. Then he put it down. Was James too old for trucks? A store employee walked over. She was a young woman with a name tag that said Jessica. "Can I help you find something?" Jessica asked. "I need toys for 5-year-olds, 2 girls and a boy." "Are they your kids?" Richard hesitated. "Yes, they are my kids." "Okay, what do they like?" "I do not know." Jessica looked at him strangely. "You do not know what your own kids like?" "It is complicated. I just need something. Please." Jessica showed him different toys. Richard bought 3 stuffed animals, a bear, a rabbit, and a lion. He also bought a set of wooden building blocks. "These are good for all ages," Jessica said about the blocks. "Kids love building things." Richard paid and left. He put the bags in his car. He hoped the toys were okay. He hoped the children would like them. Saturday arrived. Richard showered and dressed carefully. He wore clean jeans and a button-down shirt. He combed his hair 3 times. He left the apartment at 1 o'clock. The drive to Battery Street only took 15 minutes, but he wanted to be early. He could not be late. He parked on the street at 1:30. He sat in his car waiting. He watched the clock. 1:40, 1:45, 1:50, 1:55. At exactly 2 o'clock, Richard got out of the car. He grabbed the bag of toys. He walked up the path to the front door. He rang the doorbell. Kelsey opened the door. She wore jeans and a simple white shirt. Her hair was pulled back. She looked at Richard's face, then at the bag in his hands. "You are on time," she said. "I said I would be. Come in." Richard followed her inside. The children were in the living room. They were playing with toys on the floor. They looked up when Richard entered. "Hi," Richard said. His voice sounded too loud, too nervous. "Hi," James said. Maya and Sophia said nothing. Kelsey gestured to the couch. "Sit, you have 2 hours. I will be in the kitchen. If anyone needs me, call." She left the room, but Richard could hear her moving around in the next room. She was listening, watching, making sure everything was okay. Richard sat down on the couch. He put the bag on the floor. The children watched him. "I brought you something," Richard said. "Some toys. Would you like to see them?" James jumped up immediately. "Yes!" Maya and Sophia were slower, but they came over. Richard opened the bag. He pulled out the stuffed animals. "This bear is for you, Maya. This rabbit is for you, Sophia. And this lion is for you, James." James grabbed the lion and hugged it. "I love lions. They are so strong." Sophia held the rabbit carefully. She touched its soft ears. "Thank you," she said quietly. Maya took the bear but did not hug it. She looked at Richard with serious eyes. "Why are you giving us toys?" Maya asked. Richard did not know how to answer that. "Because I wanted to. Because I am your father, and I want to give you things." "But you were not our father before." Richard felt his chest tighten. "You are right. I was not there before. But I want to be now." Maya held the bear against her chest. She was thinking, trying to understand. Richard pulled out the building blocks. "I also got these. We could build something together if you want." James sat down on the floor immediately. "Yes, let us build a castle." Richard got down on the floor with James. He opened the box of blocks. James started stacking them right away. He talked while he built. "This is the front gate, and this is the tower, and this is where the king lives." Richard handed him blocks. He helped James balance the tower. Sophia came over and sat down. She added blocks to make a garden. "The castle needs flowers," Sophia said. "That is a good idea," Richard said. They built together. Sophia was careful and precise. James was fast and excited. The tower fell down twice. James laughed both times and rebuilt it. Maya sat on the couch watching. She had not put the bear down, but she had not joined them either. After a while, Richard looked up at her. "Maya, do you want to help?" Maya shook her head. "I want to ask you something." Richard's stomach tightened. "Okay, what do you want to ask?" "Why were you not there when we were born?" The question hit Richard hard. He stopped moving. James and Sophia kept building, but they were listening too. Richard looked at Maya. He could lie. He could make up an excuse. But Kelsey would know. And the children deserved the truth. "I made a very bad choice," Richard said slowly. 6 years ago, your mommy and I were together. We loved each other. But my grandmother did not want us to be together. She told me I had to choose between your mommy and my family's money. I chose wrong. I chose money instead of love. I chose a house instead of your mommy. So your mommy left. And I did not know she was pregnant with you. Would you have stayed if you knew?" Maya asked. Richard thought about it. He wanted to say yes, but he was not sure. 6 years ago he had been weak and scared. "I do not know," Richard said honestly. "I was not a good person back then. I was scared. I let my grandmother control me. I should have been braver, but I was not." Maya nodded slowly. "Mommy says people can change. I am trying to change. I want to be your father. I want to be someone you can count on. But I have to prove that to you. I cannot just say it. I have to show you." "Okay," Maya said. "You can try." It was not forgiveness, but it was permission. And that was more than Richard deserved. The 2 hours passed quickly. They finished the castle. James showed Richard all his action figures. Sophia brought her sketchbook from her room. She showed Richard pages and pages of drawings, flowers and trees, and people and animals. "These are beautiful, Sophia," Richard said. "You are very talented." Sophia smiled. A real smile. It made Richard's heart hurt in a good way. When Kelsey came back into the room, she said it was time for Richard to go. "Already?" James said. "But we just started playing." "It has been 2 hours," Kelsey said. "Richard will come back next Saturday." Richard stood up. He looked at each of his children. "Thank you for letting me visit. I had a really good time." "Me too," James said. He hugged Richard's leg. Richard froze. Then he gently put his hand on James's head. "Bye," Sophia said. She waved. Maya just nodded. Kelsey walked Richard to the door. They stepped out onto the porch. "That went well," Kelsey said. "Did it? I could not tell." "James likes you. Sophia is warming up. Maya is cautious. That is normal. You are a stranger to them." "I know." Richard looked back at the closed door. "Thank you for letting me come. I will be here next Saturday. Same time." "I know you will." Richard drove home. When he got to the apartment, Eleanor was sitting in the living room waiting for him. "How did it go?" she asked. "It was good, hard, but good." Richard sat down. James is funny and energetic. Sophia is shy but sweet. Maya is serious and smart. They are amazing, Eleanor. They are perfect. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "I want to meet them properly, not just at that dinner. Really meet them." "Then you have to do what Kelsey said. You have to change." "I am trying. I have been reading books about race and history. Things I never learned in school. Things I never wanted to know. It is hard. It makes me feel ashamed." "Good. You should feel ashamed. We both should." Eleanor nodded. "Do you think Kelsey will ever let me visit?" "I do not know. You hurt her badly. You have to prove you are different." "I will. I want to know my great-grandchildren." The weeks passed. Richard visited every Saturday at 2 o'clock. He was never late. Not once. Not even by a minute. On the second visit, Sophia showed him more drawings. On the third visit, James asked Richard to read him a story. Richard read 3 stories. His voice got tired, but he did not stop. On the fourth visit, Maya sat next to Richard on the couch while he read to James. She did not say anything. She just sat there, listening. When the 2 hours were up, Richard stood to leave. Maya looked up at him. "Can you come 2 times a week?" Maya asked, "instead of just 1?" Richard's breath caught. He looked at Kelsey. She was standing in the doorway. She had heard. "Is that okay?" Richard asked Kelsey. Kelsey looked at Maya, then at Richard. She thought for a moment. "Saturdays and Wednesdays," Kelsey said. 2 hours each time. Same rules." "Thank you," Richard said. "Thank you so much." He left the mansion feeling lighter than he had in 6 years. 6 months passed. It was spring now. The air was warm. Flowers bloomed in the garden at the mansion on Battery Street. Richard came to visit twice a week now. Every Wednesday and Saturday. He was never late. Not once in 6 months. The visits had changed. At first, Richard just sat in the living room with the children. Now he did more. He took them to the park down the street. He pushed them on the swings. He helped Maya with her homework. He colored with Sophia. He played superheroes with James. The children trusted him now. They ran to the door when he arrived. They hugged him when he left. One Wednesday in April, Richard was reading a story to James. They were sitting on the couch together. James had his head leaning against Richard's shoulder. When the story ended, James looked up at Richard. "Dad?" James said. "Can you read another one?" Richard stopped breathing. Dad. James had called him Dad. Richard's eyes filled with tears. He tried to blink them away, but they came anyway. "Yes," Richard said. His voice shook. "I can read another one." He read 3 more stories. He could barely see the words through his tears. After that day, all 3 children started calling him Dad. Not every time. Sometimes they called him Richard. But more and more, it was Dad. The first time Maya said it, Richard had to leave the room. He went to the bathroom and cried. Kelsey found him there 10 minutes later. "You okay?" she asked. "They call me Dad," Richard said. "I do not deserve that." "Maybe not, but you are earning it. Slowly." Richard wiped his face. "Can I ask you something?" "What?" "Can I take them somewhere, not just the park? Maybe for a whole day? I could take them to the zoo or the aquarium. I would bring them back by dinner time. I promise." Kelsey thought about it. 6 months ago, she would have said no immediately. But Richard had proven himself. He showed up every single week. He was consistent. He was trying. "One Saturday," Kelsey said. "You can have them from 10 in the morning until 6 in the evening. 8 hours. If it goes well, we can try it again." "Thank you, Kelsey. I will take good care of them." "I know you will, because if you do not, you will never see them again." Richard believed her. That Saturday, Richard took the children to the zoo. They saw lions and giraffes and elephants. James loved the monkeys. Sophia loved the flamingos. Maya loved the penguins. Richard bought them ice cream. He took pictures with his phone. He sent them to Kelsey so she would know they were safe and happy. When he brought them home at 6 o'clock, they ran inside talking all at once about everything they had seen. "Mommy, the lions were so big," James said. "I saw a baby giraffe," Sophia said. "Can we go again?" Maya asked. Kelsey looked at Richard standing in the doorway. He looked tired but happy. "Maybe," Kelsey said. "If your dad wants to take you again." "I would love to," Richard said. After the children ran upstairs, Kelsey and Richard stood on the porch together. "Thank you for today," Richard said. "It meant everything to me." "They had fun. That is what matters." Richard hesitated. Then he spoke. "I want you to know I am seeing a therapist. I started 3 months ago, twice a week. I am working on understanding why I made the choices I made, why I was so weak. I want to be better, for them, and for myself." Kelsey looked at him, really looked at him. He was different than he had been 6 months ago. Thinner. His clothes were cheaper. His car was old, but his eyes were clearer. He stood up straighter. "That is good, Richard. I am glad you are doing that. I am trying to be someone they can be proud of. Keep trying." Richard left. Kelsey went inside. She felt something strange. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe respect. Maybe the beginning of trust. Meanwhile, Eleanor had been waiting. 6 months since that Thanksgiving dinner. She had not been allowed to visit the children. Kelsey had said she needed to prove she had changed. Eleanor had been trying. She read books about race and history. She attended a class at a local church about racial justice. It was uncomfortable. She was the oldest person there. She was one of only 3 white people. The teacher talked about slavery and Jim Crow and segregation. Things Eleanor had lived through but never questioned. Things she had been part of without realizing it. Eleanor cried during those classes. She cried from shame, from regret, from the weight of understanding what she had been her whole life. She wrote letters to Kelsey. She did not mail most of them, but she wrote them, apologizing, explaining, asking for a chance. Finally, in May, Kelsey called her. "You can come visit," Kelsey said. "This Sunday at 3 o'clock, 1 hour, that is all." "Thank you," Eleanor said. "Thank you so much." Sunday arrived. Eleanor dressed carefully. She wore a simple dress. No pearls, no jewelry. She did not want to look like she was trying too hard. Richard drove her to the mansion. He waited in the car while she went inside. Kelsey opened the door. "Hello, Eleanor." "Hello, Kelsey. Thank you for this." Kelsey led her to the living room. The 3 children were there. They looked at Eleanor with curious eyes. They had only met her once. They barely remembered her. "Children, this is your great-grandmother Eleanor. She is here to visit for a little while." "Hi," James said. Sophia waved. Maya said nothing. Eleanor sat down on a chair. She did not know what to do with her hands. She folded them in her lap. "Hello," Eleanor said. "It is very nice to see you again." The children stared at her. Eleanor felt like she was on trial. She was. "Do you like dolls?" Eleanor asked Sophia. Sophia shook her head. "I like drawing." "Oh, drawing. That is wonderful." Silence. Eleanor tried again. "James, do you like school?" "It is okay. I like recess." More silence. This was harder than Eleanor had thought. She had forgotten how to talk to children. Or maybe she had never known. Maya was watching her carefully. Finally, Maya spoke. "Why were you so mean to my mommy?" Eleanor's stomach dropped. Kelsey was standing in the doorway. She did not help. This was Eleanor's test. "I believed wrong things," Eleanor said slowly. "I thought people should only be with people who look like them. I thought your mommy was different from me, and that made her not good enough. But I was wrong, very wrong. It does not matter what someone looks like. What matters is who they are inside. Your mommy is strong and smart and kind. She was always good enough. Better than me. I was the one who was not good enough." Maya thought about this. "Are you still mean?" "I am trying not to be. I am trying to learn. To be better. I am an old woman, and I have believed the wrong things for a very long time. It is hard to change, but I am trying. For you, for your brother and sister. Because I want to know you." "Do you love us?" James asked. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, I do. You are my great-grandchildren. You are my family. I love you very much." "Even though we are brown?" Sophia asked quietly. The question broke Eleanor's heart. These children already knew. They already understood that some people would judge them for their skin color. They were 5 years old, and they already carried that knowledge. "Especially because you are exactly who you are," Eleanor said. "You are perfect. All 3 of you." The hour passed. Eleanor did not try to do much. She just sat with them. She listened to James talk about superheroes. She looked at Sophia's drawings. She heard Maya read from her book. When the hour was up, Kelsey walked Eleanor to the door. "That went better than I expected," Kelsey said. "Can I come again?" "In 2 weeks, same time." "Thank you." Over the next months, Eleanor visited once a month. The visits got easier. The children warmed up to her slowly. She brought them small gifts, books, art supplies. She listened to their stories. One day in late summer, Eleanor was sitting on the couch with James. He climbed into her lap. He had never done that before. Eleanor put her arms around him carefully. She looked at Kelsey across the room. Kelsey nodded. Permission. Acceptance. Now it was a warm Sunday evening in September. A year after that first Thanksgiving dinner, Richard was bringing the children back from a day at the zoo. They ran into the mansion, laughing and talking. "Mommy, we saw baby monkeys," James shouted. "And we fed the giraffes," Sophia said. "Can we go back next month?" Maya asked. "Maybe," Kelsey said. She looked at Richard standing in the doorway. "Did everyone behave?" "They were perfect," Richard said. "Good." Richard hugged each child goodbye. "See you Wednesday, okay?" "Okay, Dad," they all said. Richard left. Kelsey stood on the porch, watching his old car drive away. They would never be together again. Too much had happened. Too much pain. But they were partners now. Co-parents. They were building something for their children. That was enough. Kelsey went inside. The children were in the living room. James was building with blocks. Sophia was drawing. Maya was reading. Kelsey sat on the couch. She looked around the room. This mansion had rejected her once. Now it was filled with her children's laughter, filled with love, filled with life. She had taken her pain and built something strong. She had given her children everything: a beautiful home, a good education, 2 parents who showed up, a great-grandmother who was learning to be better. James brought her a leaf he had collected at the zoo. "Look, Mommy, I found this." "It is beautiful, baby." The sun set over Charleston. Light filled the mansion with warmth. Kelsey closed her eyes and breathed. She had won. Not through revenge, but through refusing to let cruelty define her. Through building a life on her own terms. Through love. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen